Hello, y'all. It's good to be with you again as we continue our look at what it means to be a Presbyterian. This is going to be our second to last lesson, and we'll take a break for a little while and probably pick up again in January with a new devotion series. But we're going to finish our look at some of the non-essential things that you can believe in within the EPC and still be in good standing, and we're looking at the millennial positions, talking about the second coming of Christ. Just so you know, there are four positions basically theologically that most people ascribe to in this. One of them we're not going to do a whole lot with because it's not a position that within the EPC would be looked upon as valid. This is more in terms of you would not be able to be ordained as a pastor if you held the position that I'll speak on in just a second. The other three you could. But basically, the four positions are dispensational premillennialism, historic premillennialism, postmillennialism, and amillennialism. And basically, the point there is in the book of Revelation, it talks about 1,000-year reign, and so it's a whole viewpoint of what this 1,000 years. What does it mean? And that's where the positions all come from. The dispensational and the historic premillennialism do believe in a literal 1,000-year reign. And then the postmillennial and the amillennial positions do not believe that it's a literal 1,000-year reign, that it's symbolic, or whatever else. And so that's, the first difference. I'm not going to speak a whole lot about dispensational premillennialism, other than to say, again, you could have it and be a member of a church, you just couldn't be ordained in it. If you want a kind of an example of it, if you've ever seen the movies or read the books Left Behind series, it's not an exact representation. It's obviously those things are highly fictionalized, but that's similar of where the Christians are raptured out of the earth. That there's this 1,000-year reign and all this other stuff. It's just and Satan and so it's. But again, that's not a position that's really looked at a whole lot in Presbyterian circles as being valid. Now, when it comes to other things like the historic premillennial position, it basically does say that there's going to be a 1,000-year reign of Jesus, and that the New Testament era church that's existing right now is the initial phase of Christ's kingdom. The premillennial position also tends to be, honestly, a tad bit pessimistic, believing that the New Testament church will win some victories in history, but will ultimately lose in her mission and lose influence and be corrupted by worldwide evil. And then that eventually the church will pass through a future of unprecedented tribulation and things like that. During this period, a personal Antichrist is going to arise, possessing great religious and political power. And then that Christ's return at the end of that tribulation period, again, will rapture the church and resurrect the dead saints, and there will be this judgment, and that Christ will at that point descend to earth to be with his glorified saints. And that God is going to intervene on behalf of his people to rescue Christ and the saints and all this other stuff. Premillennial position is fairly, there's a fair amount of people within the Presbyterian circles who hold to this position. The next position is postmillennialism. Basically, and again, it's not they don't believe in a 1,000-year literal rule. But postmillennialism basically holds that the Lord Jesus Christ founds his kingdom on earth during his earthly ministry and through his redemptive labors. And so we're already in this kind of millennial position. And that the church postmillennial also believes that the church is the fulfilled or transformed Israel there. It also believes the church kingdom's fundamental nature is essentially redemptive and spiritual rather than political and corporal. It doesn't mean that you can't be involved in politics. It just means that this postmillennialism doesn't believe that there's going to be some political reign or whatever else. That Christ rules his kingdom spiritually in his people in the world. Also, another thing is that there'll be a gradual development of the expansion of Christ's kingdom in time and history, before Christ comes again. And basically where the premillennial position is, things are going to get worse. The postmillennial position is things are going to get better as we approach the second coming. Just a little note on this. There are postmillennialists within Presbyterian circles. I would say that the influence of the postmillennial position has decreased greatly since the World War II era. It's kind of making a little bit of a comeback, though, just so you're aware. Not a big thing to be, worry about or whatever, but that's that. And so finally, the other one I want to focus on is the Amillennial position. And if you're asking, if you say, Sean, which of these three do you believe in? I would say I find myself more in the Amillennial camp. That there's not a literal 1,000-year reign, and that also that we're in that 1,000 years now, that the church age is the kingdom of the Old Testament the prophets predicted. That God is expanding his kingdom from just Israel into people from all over. That Christ has bound Satan during his earthly ministry, and his binding prevents Satan from stopping the proclamation of the gospel all over the world, and so that sinners can be converted wherever they happen to be. We also believe, the Amillennial position believes very hard that Christ rules spiritually in the hearts of believers. And we may expect times where, there's just going to be a ramping up and things are good as far as how we view the world, of Christians having great influence over things. But we also believe that evil is not dead, and so if you're looking for a middle ground position between premillennial and postmillennial, there's kind of this balance of good and evil are kind of balancing. That neither one is just overwhelming that other. But we do believe that Christ is going to return at the end of history. He's going to resurrect all men. And by that men, I mean the generic, all people, and that there will be a final judgment at that point, at that point, all of those who are deemed for heaven will go, all of those deemed for hell will go, whatever. And again, I have no idea what that will look like. I just know that it's going to be true that Christ is coming again, and that He's promised this. Now, again, we really don't know exactly what all this means. I was told in seminary that you cannot. The one thing you cannot be is a panmillennialist. Panmillennialist basically just means you believe that everything will pan out in the end. And so I don't mean to be flippant or whatever else, but all of these positions, or at least the three that I said, historic premillennial, postmillennial, and amillennial, all of them have some valid points and things that are attractive when you look at. And it's one of those reasons why there should be some liberty in this thought, because, man, we just really don't know. We're not going to know until the second coming of Jesus Christ what this all means. Until then, it's just some speculation on our parts. We think we would like to think that we know what we're talking about, but the mysteries of God are the mysteries of God, and that's okay. I don't allow, if you find yourself and you're like, well, I don't know what camp I find myself in, that's okay. I don't think it's a requirement at all to define yourself by one of these camps. The biggest thing I can tell you is when it comes to the second coming is we know that Jesus Christ is going to come and He's going to win. That's the end of the story. Everything else will play itself out as He so deems, and we get the opportunity to be a part of it in some way, shape, or fashion when that occurs, if we are people of Jesus Christ. So with that, I hope you have a great day, and we will talk with you later. Bye-bye.